Overview. This engaging SOLIDWORKS User Group meeting highlighted the many benefits of being part of the SOLIDWORKS community, including networking, learning, sharing ideas, and connecting with fellow designers, engineers, and manufacturers. The discussion also looked ahead to exciting opportunities such as 3D Experience World 2027, encouraging attendees to get involved, build relationships, and make the most of the resources available within the SOLIDWORKS community. A key topic was design for manufacturability, DFM, and the importance of thinking beyond the design itself. By considering machining processes, tooling, materials, and production methods early in the design process, engineers can help reduce costs, minimize production time, and create more efficient, manufacturable parts. Attendees were also introduced to valuable educational resources, including the titans of CNC Academy, YouTube channel, and Facebook community, which provide hands-on learning, technical knowledge, and support for machinists, engineers, and designers. The session wrapped up with an interactive Q&A, giving attendees the opportunity to ask questions, share experiences, and explore practical solutions related to machining, design, and SOLIDWORKS functionality. Overall, the meeting was a great opportunity to learn, connect, and grow, reinforcing that the strength of SOLIDWORKS goes beyond the software. It's the community, knowledge, and people behind it that make the difference.
SOLIDWORKS User Group connects over 24,000 members of SOLIDWORKS users, and it is a central hub for hundreds of events throughout the year. So right now, in August, we have almost 500 events already held. So this is such a great place to learn free SOLIDWORKS for free, and also really connect with people and build relationships, meet with mentors, and also just get inspired. So, join, it's really great for solving challenges and innovation and getting ideas and just talking to everyone all in one place. So you're probably already on swugin.org, but here's the QR code if you're not. And if you know anybody, definitely take a picture of this code and share it, or join, if there's other groups in your area on virtual groups that you want to check out, join those groups as well. And Dan, if you think I'm missing anything, feel free to expand on anything.
I think you're doing a great job, Isabel.
Thank you. And then we have some big events that happen throughout the year. So here are a few that we had last year that are annual events here. So we have Iron Swug here. And can you guys see the Iron Swug website?
Yes.
Yeah. That's showing? Okay.
Yes.
So this is held by our community leaders, Brad and Adam, and they ride motorcycles through, a designated location. It changes every year. They make, pit stops with their motorcycle, and there's usually like 4 to 5 locations, and they teach SOLIDWORKS and show SOLIDWORKS in each one of these locations. So these events happen yearly. We'll go back to here, and then we also have SLUGME. That stands for SOLIDWORKS largest user group meeting ever, and this is a YouTube live style podcast that shows you how to design specific creations that it changes every year. So last year it was a dinosaur, and they go over how they design it, how they make it so that the community can make it with them. I can show you at the end here what the dinosaur looked like. A little further here. There's a dinosaur, very big. It's like 6 feet tall. Showed up at World, so you'll also be able to see these creations at World. This happens yearly. We have something different and new coming out this year as well. We'll now move on to the West Michigan Lakeshore Technical Summit. So this happens every year as well. It is a big SOLIDWORKS user group meeting, basically, except it is with 200 people. There is breakout sessions. I'm kind of going over quick. There's one breakout session there. Let's see if I can get a picture of the room. It's a packed room, and there's one of there's Suchit there. This one's really great because you can kind of tailor it to specific element, the meetings that you're interested in, things you want to learn about. And I'm just going to also give a quick overview of the Champions program as well. This is more of an individual style experience rather than, this group meeting experience with SWGN. So this is like if you're really passionate about SOLIDWORKS and you kind of want to be rewarded for your passion. So this is great for global recognition because we do give out credly badges that can be posted on your LinkedIn. This is great for executive access and networking. We host Champions live calls every week, and you'll see the executives will join these calls. It's great for early announcements. So you get the first look at early announcements, product releases, product announcements, all of that will happen on these calls. It's awesome for a private inner circle. We give you access to 3D Experience platform where you can chat with other champions, and you can also post your ideas or, maybe some problems you're having or you need help with. You can post that on the Champions forum and also see other people's ideas. See people's design, yours design, share. It's really cool, really great. We also have a new platform that was released, the Champions Hub. And on here, you do get rewarded for completing specific missions. So a mission would look like we would request, or we would put up a mission that says, submit your design. And, if approved, if your design is approved, we will post it on the SOLIDWORKS Instagram. And if you get approved for this, we will give you points. And there's easier missions. We have missions like create your profile, and we'll give you points for creating a profile. And with these points, you can redeem them and claim rewards, which is like swag, certifications, 3D Experience, world tickets, things like that. Also, the X Mechatronics or SOLIDWORKS Design. All of these can be redeemed. And this is actually just a cool picture of the champions that was at World last year. And there's Joe getting his Champions of the Year reward. And next we have the sponsorship program. So this is a program for individuals that have a strong social media presence. They receive a 3-year term license of our products or software. And in return, we receive deliverables from them. So this is usually around customer stories, technical presentations on Champions live calls, in SWGN leader meetings, etc. They also will provide us with structured product feedback, and they will promote 3D Experience World and other major events we may have. And then we will also ask them to showcase their products and attend 3D Experience World. So here's just an example of somebody that would make a video for us and post it on their social media for 3D Experience World. We also have them post the logo and link to our licenses as well. Here's just an example of what that looks like. And then just a quick announcement. We do want to let you know that SOLIDWORKS Design Standard is now free for students. This happened back in July. So if you know a student, you have students in your network, let them know about this. This is really important. And if you want to stay connected with SOLIDWORKS, we have a few QR codes here that you can scan. The first one is for the forum. Then we have the LinkedIn, the Discord, and the WhatsApp. And I can let that sit there for a second if any of you want to take a picture or scan that. Okay. And then that's the end of my presentation. We can go over 3D Experience World, but if you have any questions, we'll wait a minute. So any questions from anyone before you move on?
Anyone that had any questions, Isabel, was dropped off? So you kind of got an idea of how we spread it around the world. She touched on a champion, and there's always a question about a champion, or what a champion is. Actually, you mentioned that is just someone that has a passion for it. When you start talking to them, you can't get away, right? They just kind of lead out to you. So anyone can be a champion. It's a mission for doing that, but any questions? You guys are learning how easy. Isabel, then that means you did a great job. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Nice.
So with that said, we're gonna move on to Dan. Dan is the SOLIDWORKS manager, and he manages groups. He manages people like me around the world, but I'll have him to go more in depth for exactly what he does. Awesome job at crazy oral example. Dan, I'll let you take it up from there.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Maybe, can you hear me okay, first of all?
Yes, they're good.
I was just going to ask for some sympathy there in the room for having to manage Joe. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has tried to do that or not, but it's no small feat. But no, joking aside, I have the honor and privilege to work with people like Joe and Dot. Of course, I know Dot's in the room there. I saw Dot on camera at least once. So.
Yep, she's there.
All right, hi Dot. Good to see you. All right, let me see if I can share my screen. And yeah, I just echo also so much of what Isabel said, because like those are all resources for you as a group member that you can take advantage of, right? You're there in that room, and I'll say you're a very lucky crew because you are a member of Joe's group, and that's not something that everybody can say, right? That they get to go to Joe Lance's meeting and be in Joe's very close circle there. But everything Isabel just showed us is like, they're just additional resources, additional things that you can take advantage of as a member, totally for free, right? Those are things you can find on the websites that she shared, the programs that we offer. And if there's more that you want, we ask again that you tell us, right? You reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And even as Isabel mentioned, our executives are very connected here. So if there's something we're missing, you'll get a chance to see Suchit or Manish at a meeting. Manish is presenting this Thursday for a group in Egypt. And I can show that slide. Actually, I can show that meeting. And more than 1,000 kids in Egypt, students, SOLIDWORKS users, have signed up to hear him speak. And he's doing that directly, right? Directly for another group in Egypt. So these guys are very accessible and definitely want to hear your feedback.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
So to just elaborate on that, and I'm always interrupting Dan. He'd be shocked if I didn't interrupt him. But that meeting, I went to RSVP, and I'm on a wait list.
Yeah, Joe's on a wait list.
I think that's like 1,000 kids, but I'm thinking, is this a mistake? But that's just good. But I actually have the meeting co-hosted. When I co-host a meeting, we get a chance to chime in and see what's happening for meeting around the world. So I'm sure that I'll get into that. But anyway, just want to throw that out there. I'm on a wait list, man. I need some help.
Yeah, I know. I don't really know anybody, Joe. I'd like to get you in the door if I could, but I don't really know anybody. But no, truthfully, this is that meeting. I know this is a totally side tangent here, but as I'm going to call her Izzy, by the way, as Izzy showed us a moment ago, this site is free, right? Anybody can join this site overall and take part in these meetings. We're going to open this up to 3,000 people a little bit later today. So I had to like make an IT ticket internally to get my webinar limit increased for a day so we can host this meeting. But he's going to talk to, hopefully over 1,000 people on Thursday about what's going on. Kind of like his origin story and where we're headed with AI is what he's supposed to talk about. All right. So what we're going to talk about now is pivot a little bit into even more of a resource that you can take advantage of as a SOLIDWORKS user and a group member is something called 3D Experience World. I hope everybody in the room there is familiar with what is SOLIDWORKS. I'll maybe glance over this part, but sometimes if we're presenting this to a new crew, a new audience, they might not exactly know what SOLIDWORKS is all the time, right? But it's important that we lead with that. What is SOLIDWORKS? I hope it's your industry standard design software solution, right? If you're modeling or creating anything in 3D we hope you're using SolidWorks to do it. Well, what is 3D Experience World then? That's the question, right? 3D Experience World is our conference that we do every year, and it's typically in February. And this year, of course, it's falling on Super Bowl weekend. I live in Philadelphia. I know, not always the best connection to NFL football fans in Texas, but hey, I am an Eagles fan. I hope you won't hold it against me. But it is Super Bowl weekend, and it's also Valentine's Day weekend this year. So sometimes it falls on kind of an interesting weekend, but it kicks off like that Saturday, Sunday, and goes all the way through Wednesday. And it's back in Nashville. Nashville is a lot of fun. We were there a few years ago, which I'll talk about in a moment. But this is a look at what that hall, what 3D Experience World looks like when you get everybody packed into one room. So let's kind of dig into like the little history lesson here. If we are SolidWorks, why do we call it 3D Experience World? Well, 2019 was the last SolidWorks World. So if you've seen this session before, if you're at all familiar with this, it used to be called 3D Experience World, and we changed it to 3D Experience World. And I'll just, on the record here, say, right, I think we did our SolidWorks users a disservice by doing that. And I've been in the SolidWorks industry myself since about 2008. I spent about 13 years at a SolidWorks reseller, teaching SolidWorks, doing SolidWorks tech support, all those sorts of things. So yeah, I used to love going to SolidWorks World as a SolidWorks user, and now it's 3D Experience World. Well, we'll do this pretty quickly here, but from a historical recap, why is that important? Why did we do that? And how did we land here? When SolidWorks came out in 95, we added all of these add-ins over the years. And maybe you've seen this slide before, but what do you think the first add-in we added was in 2000? Any ideas? You can shout it out.
Simulation.
Simulation. It's a good guess. Let's see. It was Toolbox. Toolbox was the first one added in 2000. Shortly after was simulation. It was 2001. And just to fast forward here, right? Sometimes this is a fun game to play for a while. We added FlowSim in 2003, PDM in 2006. And then everything else years after, right? But what we don't talk about a lot is DS, Dassault Systems, acquired SolidWorks in 1997 and really was the funding and the catalyst and the parent company, right, that allowed all of this to happen. And if you take a step back and think, yeah, SolidWorks has had this connection to the 3D experience, to Dassault Systems since 1997. And it took all the way until 2019 when we renamed the event and kind of rebranded that major event. And Dassault Systems has been making 3D design software since the 80s, since the early 80s, right? Long, believe it or not, even before I was born, they've been making CAD software. So the first digital mock-up of a plane here after I was born in 1989. So. All of these things happen, right? And it's more so just to put a little bit of history and a little bit of understanding of like, well, why do we call this thing 3D Experience World? It's because there's a lot more to it than just SolidWorks. SolidWorks is absolutely the biggest piece of it. If you go to that conference, if you've been there, you would see that. But there is a lot of other aspects to it, other brands within Dassault Systems that have a piece of that event as well. So now let's dig into it. What does the event look like? You have big general sessions in huge halls with about 4,000 people at any given time. Most of the conference, you're there for the technical training. You want to go to all those breakout sessions, build your agenda, decide what sessions are important to you, and whatever your needs are, whatever you model in SolidWorks, that's certainly going to change and drive what sessions you pick. The meetup sessions are all about networking, meeting other people, having conversations that you don't get to have the rest of the year. The certifications are a big part of this event where the whole day, Sunday, you can sit down and take any certification you want for free. It's a great reason to go. It's a great way to sell it to your boss. Like, hey, I'm not only going to go get all this free training, but also get certified while I'm there in, depending on what add-in or what piece of the software is important to you or to your boss. The playground is the big conference floor, right? Where all of the booths are, where all of our vendors are. We have cool. Last year we had puppies. We had a puppy spot. You could stop in and pet a puppy, right? If you've been at a corporate conference all day, sometimes it's cool to sit down and pet a puppy for a couple minutes. So a lot of really cool stuff there. Manufacturing, Maker Zone. And we have a ton of press, a ton of journalists that are walking around. There's a ton of coverage about this event as well while you're there on site. The pillars, what are you there to do? You're there to learn, expand your skills, celebrate your passion for SOLIDWORKS, your passion for design and engineering. You're there to hear from our executives about what's coming in SOLIDWORKS. Last year, it was all AI. Last year was very heavy on what are we doing in AI. I'm excited this year to hear about like, hey, here's what we have done. Here's where we are a year later and what we have in our roadmap. And you're there to collaborate and connect with the thousands of people, the thousands of Joes that are there, right? All the other amazing SOLIDWORKS users that are passionate and happy to be there, get to nerd out for a few days about SOLIDWORKS. The call for speakers is actually open right now. It just opened Monday, yesterday, but we actually opened it Friday with a sneak peek. Sal Lama he works in R&D here at SOLIDWORKS, but he is also the head of the user agenda. He is building the agenda. So if you go to World and you're digging through the catalog, Sal is curating all of that through all the various aspects of the company. And as of now, you can submit sessions to speak at World. If you get approved, if you get accepted, you actually get a free pass to the conference, which it's about $1,000 value, depending on when and where you buy it. But it is a really nice thing to have, a kind of like a bragging rights. Like, yeah, I'm presenting at 3D Experience World, and I got my conference pass covered. Last year was a blast. We were there in Texas with you all in Houston. I hope some of you were able to go. I can kind of see the camera. Show of hands, anybody who was there last year. Let me see. All right, so we got a nice handful of people in the room who were there last year. It was awesome. We spent 2 years in Houston, and I had a blast. I looked for any excuse to go back to Texas, and Joe's home city there was such a awesome host. If you didn't know, the special event, the big party we had, we rented out the entire Space Center. So we had the Space Center to ourselves for several hours. That was really cool. We got police escorts from the convention center and buses to go there, and it was a really awesome experience. Something else you're going to see here, Joe just pops up everywhere. Like Joe pops up in just about every picture across the board. So you know, that just such a social, nice guy. It's hard not to have him in almost every single picture. I won't roll this entire video because it is, I think, 3 minutes long, but we'll just kind of cruise through some of this. This is last kind of like a recap of last year, and you can go back and watch this actually on our site, on our YouTube page, I should say, and get to hear from, get to see some of these highlights, some of the really cool moments, but there's the dinosaur Isabel showed us before. So a lot of really cool moments. And again, it was great to spend a couple years going to the conference in Texas. I will say I'm looking forward to going back to Nashville, though. Nashville was a blast, and looking forward to going back there. Joe, before I move past last year, we dig into a little bit more about what they can expect this year. Any feedback, comments, questions, anything about Houston?
Is that to me? Is that a question to me?
Really to anybody, yeah.
So we had a few people that did attend the event here at World. Any input? I know you were there. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, it was an excellent event. Just I went 2 years in a row, and it was exciting. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell a little story about her. Janine. For years we've been hosting a user group, and we had an event that we contacted her, and she showed up. And she was like, I'm like, well, who are you? Janine? Like, is this your first time meeting? Yes. Her excuse was, I never had time. But then after she got involved and got to talking, she left, and then I think she got a certification, and she started doing this. And now she's an advocate for what's happening. And I think she's been told early that she needs to go back to World, and you did. And I think you brought a few of your employees in. So
nice.
6 people last year. Yeah. So I think how many? 6. So we're hoping that we see more of your faces there. If you get anything out of this, just multiply that time hundreds. We'll have a breakout session just like this, but then you get so much more in the hallways, the networking. That's the only place I normally say, and so he gave me an opportunity to talk, he shouldn't have done that, right? So I would think it's the only time it's acceptable to eavesdrop, because the place is buzzing and everybody's talking. You can say no wrong, because you're all there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Dan, in fact, you stop there.
Yeah, that's good. I know, Joe, you could go on forever about that, but cool. I'm glad to hear some people went and they enjoyed it. So let's dig in a little bit more about like some shout outs here, right? I said this already, but Joe pops up everywhere. These were some of my favorite favorite pictures of Joe from years past. And Isabel showed us before Joe winning the Champion of the Year award, which was an amazing moment. And it's a really cool thing we get to do every year. You get to pick through a catalog of sessions to go to, and a difference this year. And what are we looking forward to this year? A difference is we're doing an early preview of the catalog. We pushed to get as many submissions in yesterday as we could. Before this meeting, I came out of another meeting where we had really good news. We got a lot of submissions on Monday already.
Awesome.
So this means we can build a preview of the agenda much earlier, and we know the agenda drives attendance. You can take it and show it to your boss and say, hey, look at all these sessions. These are the ones I'm going to go to that are going to benefit me and the company, and hopefully drive registration and attendance much earlier than we normally do. So registration's opening soon. I don't know if I am allowed to say the date here or not, but it's just a couple weeks away where we will be able to register for the conference and see the preview of the agenda, which that's a first. Normally it's like register and the agenda comes later. The goal here is to get a preview of the sessions right when you register. Users.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah. The user sessions are again the big driver. So we will have physical hands-on sessions where you have laptops in room and you're going through physical workflows, but you also have more lecture style sessions or meetup style sessions where you are a member of the audience and you don't have hardware. The hardware sessions, the hands-on sessions, fill up quickly. So register for those first. And even if you don't get a seat, you can still go and stand in the back of the room. So if somebody doesn't show up, you can take that seat. And in some cases, you can even double up with people and say, hey, do you mind if I look over your shoulder while you're going through this hands-on piece? We do a lot of like why you should attend. So it's something else to watch for is if you need help justifying it with your management, if you need help justify it with your family, hey, why do I have to go to this? Well, here's a lot of why you should attend, invitation letters, justifications for your management. So look out for that. And if you need more, let us know. Reach out to us, and that's something we can help you. Something we can help with. We will usually announce what the special event is. We haven't announced it yet. This was last year's announcement that we were going to the Space Center. And again, that was awesome. We rented out the whole thing. The whole inner piece was like kind of like dancing and drinks and music. And then like all the food vendors were around all the other spots. You could go out and see the Saturn V rocket. Like you could do the whole thing. It was just awesome. These are last year's special meetings. We, again, don't have them posted yet for 2027, but these are some of the things you can expect to see is a community summit where me, Matt Clegg, Isabel, Matt Hall, our team, will do a presentation on what's going on with community, a 2-hour jam-packed session into everything community for the year and things that we're working on for the coming year. We also do a first-timers welcome reception led by none other than Joe and Ken. So that's a really important session because it's a chance for you to, right out of the gate, meet friendly people, understand the conference, know how to make the most of the event while you're there because it is overwhelming. There's a lot to take in. Joe, others will help you figure that out and make sure you're pointed in the right direction. Last year, we had Jensen Huang speak from NVIDIA, right? CEO of pretty much the biggest company in the world. And he was great. He was awesome. We got to see him talk to our CEO and talk about the future of AI and some of the exciting ways that Dassault Systems is working with NVIDIA and how closely they've actually worked together for so many years. We haven't announced the keynote speakers this year yet, but again, something to watch for. Always really exciting to see when that comes out. There's an app on your phone, helps you find agendas, see speakers, connect with other people, do the surveys afterwards. You get push notifications. The app is awesome, so you always want to watch for that leading up to the conference and download that as you approach. We have a map of what that whole playground looks like. This is one of the previous years, and again, we're still working on the version for this year, but the shop floor, there's a VIP lounge, the maker zone. We have really cool customer assemblies, customer physical things, right? Kind of sprinkled throughout the entire area. Always really cool to see, and we are working on some really cool customer designs to feature for this year. If you've ever watched the Hacksmith on YouTube, this is one of the robots that they use SolidWorks for everything. We had the Hacksmith, forget what the heck the name of this thing was, Isabel, maybe you remember, but the something crusher, I don't know. But we had the Hacksmith, power loader. I think it was the power loader. We had the power loader there in person. You got to like stand in it, and those guys are really cool. We'll usually have sponsored Formula SAE teams or Formula Baja teams, and if they're local enough, we'll bring their cars, their Baja cars there. It's always really awesome to see those in person. The Maker Zone, where you're getting your hands dirty, you're putting stuff together, you're maybe doing some like engraving or some molding or some really cool things. Model Mania is where you get to try your skills. So if you think you're a fast SolidWorks user, I'm not a fast user, but I can use the software. We will give you a drawing. You sit down and model the drawing. We will give you a change to that drawing. You have to go through a change and a simulation. All of that is timed. And of course, you have to have the right model, the right mass. And we then compare all those times together and pick the Model Mania champions. It's crazy, right? If you see some of the people, how quickly they move through the software, and even just watching someone do that, you pick up some tips and tricks. But this is a really popular piece of the conference, something everybody gets like really competitive about and really excited about. It's pretty cool to see. I think I skipped one slide here. There we go. So the Hive is a space that we manage, we being the community team. This is the actual Hive from Nashville. I went back and grabbed that picture, what that kind of looked like. It's a networking space. It's a casual, comfortable space where you can stop by there and visit and find most of our team there during the conference, but also other user group leaders, other champions, other people just looking to network and talk about SolidWorks. The First Timers meetup will be held in this space in Nashville. I think I had other pictures back there too. And you'll also see our team manages the meetup. So if you're not networking in the Hive, you're also networking in these specific meetups, like meetups about PDM or meetups about how to return to 3D Experience World, which is something Joe has run in the past. So we see Joe leading that meetup before. We have Bruce Holloway's famous top 10 list. So if you're at all familiar with the SolidWorks forums, you can actually submit your top 10 enhancements, your ideas for what should be added to the software. And Bruce and team will literally go over that list and then show you the things that have been added from previous years' top 10 lists. And it shows, again, your feedback really drives product development here at SolidWorks. And I think I just have one or two more slides. Matt Clegg and I get to go up on main stage and deliver some awards. As Isabel showed before, we get to go up and give people like Joe the Champions of the Year award and a lot of really other really honorable things. And again, for me to do that and recognize these amazing people is an honor. I will stop there. If you ever have questions about World or anything else, our email here at DS is pretty easy. It's firstname.lastname@3ds.com. You can reach out to me anytime you want. Same thing I'm sure goes for Isabel and the rest of our crew here. So if there's anything we can ever help you with, please reach out and let us know.
Wow, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan? Don't let this guy's off easy. Any questions?
Here's something I'm dealing with right now. And just got my CSWP. Who should I reach out to get that badge added to the Advocacy Hub?
Isabel, I guess that might be a you or a Matt Clegg question.
Oh, then I spell a message about that on the hub.
Yeah, you could email the solidworks.champions@3ds.com email inbox, and you can also do matthew.clegg@3ds.com. Matt is out this week, but he should be around next week. I'm out next week, so
Oh, excuse me.
either one of those or both.
Awesome. Anyone else? So we mentioned about going to World. Who is not interested in going to World? I think we got some of your bosses in here. It's a good time to put that hand up. You know, we get pressure on you. Who else is in front? I see a couple of hands in front. Anyone else?
Yeah, who do we have to sell, Joe? Let's bring to the front. Yeah.
So
I gotta sell my box.
so then if all of you come together, and it's a good point, I'll be more than happy to come help to represent that. I have a pretty strong passion. The value it pays for itself in a heartbeat. Sometimes it's hard to see that, but we talk about how to justify it. If you show the dollars sent, dollars saved, it's a no-brainer. Sometimes it's hard to justify, well, where are we going to go? It's like, you want me to send you to Nashville for 3 days? Like, really? But we can help with that. So also what Dan said about the people that we get to interact with, not often you get an opportunity to talk to the guy that's designing the software. You get to sit and chat with them. They will talk to you freely and want to know what's happening. There's a couple of days before where they have the alpha testing. Okay, the alpha testing. If you can go early, you get a chance to sit with the developers. They'll give you a problem to solve, right? And when I first started, I was being nice. Well, no, raw information. What do you want to see? What did I do? These guys are creating software. They're not the end user, so they need to know and need that feedback. This is why they got where they are today, by taking the information. What are you looking for? What's the problem? And they solve those problems first, top 10 stuff. So I'm going to put Dan on the spot a little bit. You don't know this, and he hates when I do this too. So
I gotta go, Joe. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So I think here, you guys, with your license to SOLIDWORKS, do you have an opportunity to take the CSW and certification? So if there's anyone that's not employed here and you are looking to take your CSW AAP, we can provide a voucher because you attend this meeting. That also goes to the guys that's at the virtual world as well. So if you have anyone here that need access to that, be sure to get with Doc on the way out. Be sure we have your email with his phone. We'll be sure that you get that as well. At the virtual world, if you guys can contact me with your email, and we'll also take care of it for you as well. And then, is that okay? Was that okay?
That sounds good, Joe. We can handle that.
All right, so that's all I have. If you guys have, again, any questions for either Dan or Isabel, this is a great turnout. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. We're only halfway through. Our main speaker will be coming up in about 10 minutes. So Dan and Isabel, I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed it as well. It's always a pleasure. Isabel, awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
If I'm not mistaken, Isabel, is this your first time doing a presentation with the user group in this atmosphere?
Yes, this is my first time doing an actual presentation for something like this. I did speak at the Michigan Summit event briefly.
Good job.
Speaks for itself. It's your blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim. So with that, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. But before we do that, I'm gonna start. We have the wheel available. I'm gonna pull up a wheel. We're gonna give a giveaway now, and then we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back at 12 for our presenter. Are we good at that? If I can get you. Here with me a second. So, Chris, I'm gonna give you the floor to like it. Is that please? Okay, this kind of tablet, ask questions to like the.
You want
So I guess one of the things that Joe and I like to know is, what do you guys like to know about? What are the questions that you have? What are the topics that we can bring to you to help you do your job? We have community experts, as that network. We have hundreds of people experienced in simulation, in material selection, in setting up macros and doing things that are more of an automation side. We've got all these people in our network that we can bring, and we can actually have a virtual, just like we did with Dan and Ezzy. We can have them present information to you guys, even to a point where, if it's possible, we can share and help you move through your problem. Yes?
Large assembly manipulation.
Okay, can you make it up?
Yes.
So it's gonna take me just a couple of minutes, because of the network and the wheel, I'm being blocked, so I got to my hotspot to bring it up, so sorry about that.
Now, when you talk about large assembly, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Are we talking about 150 parts? Are we talking about 15,000? 3 to 5,000? Okay, so medium large. Okay.
Yeah.
3 to 10,000? Okay.
It's considered large. That's medium.
So actually, that's a good one. I'm gonna stop right there for that, because that's a good question. Did you say what's considered to be large?
Yeah, that's medium large.
So let's go to the audience first, and I'll tell you. What do you consider to be a large assembly?
Nothing I touch at work.
Okay, anyone else? So take a guess at it.
I would consider 10 to 12,000.
Okay, good answer. Anyone else?
Anything that slows down my computer.
You know, that's exactly right. A part can be a large part that's bigger than an assembly. So you can have an assembly with 2 parts. It could be considered to be an extraordinary assembly because of the way it's done. Helix and duplicate parts. It's just crazy stuff that a user, if they came to this meeting, you wouldn't be doing that, right? But that's exactly right. When you have a large assembly that you can create simplified configurations and stuff like that, those are the key things. But when you're thinking I'll only use it once and you use it 10 times and you're creating a thread and making a helix instead of a twist, then you become a really large assembly really, really fast.
Yeah.
So
perhaps a spread in information would be very beneficial to simplify parts.
Yeah, so we're going to take that to our list of people that we know, and we're going to come up with some information to help. And there are some things on the SWOGA network and on the SOLIDWORKS YouTube channel, as well as does anybody know who your VAR is?
Yeah, MLC.
MLC? Okay, MLC. And Go Engineer. They both have very large video libraries to go through some of this stuff. But people like Toby.
Almost everyone out there currently on YouTube has a large design review YouTube video going over how to use that to help you with large assemblies.
The biggest one that I can remember, I don't remember how many parts it was, but they were actually showing a simulation of the NASA crawler.
Yeah.
We're talking about 50,000 parts. So I understand that you may have thought I was joshing with you about 10,000 parts, but that's a fraction of what can be done. And again, like Joe said, it's all a matter of how you do it too. The design intent and the way you model things, and the way you put the assemblies together can make a dramatic effect of how the assembly actually looks, regardless of whether you're actually in the
the door opens, I see rush the stage, full speed.
The other question you need to know is where's all this stuff popping out of the back?
All right, Barry, I think we're good. We still have a few that's heading back in, but I think it's good to go.
All right.
All right, guys, so we're going to begin on the second half. And so to introduce him, I won't do him justice, and I know he won't give him the due that he deserves. He pretends to be really bashful and shy, but I've met the guy in person. No, he may used to be at one point, but I've seen him when he just run his machine, man. It's like a different guy. You've seen some of his clips, you know what I'm referring to. But I had an opportunity to meet Barry a few years back, go visit with him at his shop, and if you get an opportunity, if you're up in Dallas,
Flower Mound is where we're actually
at the Flower Mound, okay, out by the airport, I believe. You got to go there. But of course, make an appointment to get there. But it's mind-boggling. These machines, I can walk into them. It's like on the size of some poppers, right? These things are huge.
we've got bigger ones now.
Oh my God, I just can't imagine that. But the reason he's here is to help us, help me, because on our end, as a designer, creator, we do things that he looks at like, okay, do you really want me to hold that tolerance? I can, you're gonna pay for it, but do you really need it? And I think we're all guilty of that. I know I am, was, still am. I don't, because my ignorance of not understanding how to parts machine, don't take the time to, the tolerance, just dump everything to 3 places, 4 places, and throw it out there. You can do it, but can you pay for it?
Yeah, it's gonna cost.
So, all right, and with that said, Barry, it's all yours.
All right, guys. Well, what's up, everybody? Tell you a little bit about who we are in case you guys haven't heard of Titans of CNC before. I'm going to share my screen here. Let me. There we go. All right, so we are Titans of CNC Machining. We have a Facebook group with 100,000 members where people can come here and ask machining questions, like this guy here is asking how to machine tungsten. We also have a YouTube channel, and if I can get back there. Our YouTube channel has almost 1.2 million subscribers. We do a lot of videos teaching people how to do specific things. We make, sometimes entertaining videos like machining this eagle. There's me teaching how to anodize titanium. Lots of videos on here. I think we've got over 1,000. We've got almost 3,000 videos. So anytime you have machining questions, that's a good resource for people. And last but not least, we also have our online academy. Right now, our academy has a little over 800,000 students enrolled. Here, if you want to learn milling, lathe, fixturing, 5-axis, any of these series, you can go in, pick apart, and you can learn SolidCam, how to model it in SolidWorks, how to program it in Mastercam, all different kinds of classes based on the parts in the academy. So with that said, we're kind of trying to help solve the skills gap problem. And we've got a lot of young people involved in it. Our curriculum is used in quite a few states, preferred over NIMS in some. And it's used in prisons all over the country, and colleges, trade schools, you name it. So we're not just a YouTube channel. We actually are trying to contribute to the industry. As far as I go, I'm a fourth generation machinist. It's all I've ever known since I was a kid. But I've also worked as a design engineer in aircraft. I was lead structural design engineer at Aerolution Incorporated. I was a structural design engineer for Spartan ERV. They make emergency response vehicles like fire trucks. I've done a lot of engineering work. I was a design engineer for M7 Aerospace for about 5 years. So I get to see things from both sides, which is kind of convenient, and it's really nice to be able to share the things that I know with people through the internet. I did a video on design for manufacturability, and I think it's around 300,000 views, but every comment in that video is people just saying, why didn't they teach me this in college? Like, if I would have known that, I would have been doing this the whole time. And that's what I'm here today to help you guys with. Some of this stuff I've gone over in previous, SolidWorks Worlds and other user groups. So if you've heard my spiel before, I'm sorry, but we'll just call this a reminder.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're going to take a look at a few different parts here. One of the biggest problems that me and all of my machinist buddies see in design parts is fillets being inconvenient sizes. So if you picture a cutting tool in machining, it's a round tool that's diving down into the pocket. And these round tools come in common fractional sizes like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. And a problem that we have is if you make an internal corner radius an even fractional size, it causes us to have to use a much smaller tool. And the reason is, in this case, this radius, let's just say it's a 1/4 inch. I would want to use a 1/2 inch tool because that'll allow me to remove material in that pocket faster than if I was using a smaller end mill. So I put together this page here that has, the ideal practices for internal fillets. Basically, if you want to use a common fractional size fillet, do that size plus 10%. So rather than having a 250 radius, make it a 275 radius, or open up the tolerance on it so that we can have 10% of that radius size. And that makes a huge deal in machining parts because, again, the smaller the tool is, the longer it's going to take us to machine it. Another thing is floor fillets. So common end mills come with common corner radius sizes, and I have those listed here. So if you look, a lot of times, most manufacturers, you can get all of these nose radiuses on your end mills. So we just take one pass around the outside of the pocket and that fillet is done. But if you use any weird size, like say a 0.1 fillet in your floor, there's no tool that's going to have that corner radius on it unless it's a custom tool, and those, again, cost extra money. So if you're able to, your floor fillets like this one here should be one of these sizes listed in this chart. And again, if it was a 0.1 fillet, we can still make it, but we're going to have to take multiple passes around that pocket and step up like 5 thousandths at a time until we get that desired fillet radius. Does anybody have any questions about fillets in a part?
Any questions in the room? Do I sense a question?
Yeah, I want to, are you going to record this and then send it?
It's being recorded, but feel free to ask your question because
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to have a picture of that.
Yes, I have a recording.
Okay.
It's being recorded now.
Right.
There's a question in the back?
Well, like, with your internal radius, like you showed there, what about external edges, fillets versus the chamfer, and what?
Good question. So on the outside profile of a part, it doesn't matter. If you make a filler or you make a chamfer, it really doesn't matter because we're just going to use that tool to walk around the outside, whatever shape it is. But what I would caution you against is if you have a part like this and you're going to put a chamfer or a fillet on the top, a chamfer is always better because we can use a chamfer tool to do that. Chamfer tools come in some common sizes, common angles, I should say. So 90 degrees is very common. So if you want to put a 45-degree chamfer on the top, that's great. But once you put a fillet on the top, there are inverse radius cutters available, but most people don't use them anymore. They tend to use an end mill. And so if you put a radius up there, we're going to have to use a ball end mill and make multiple passes around the top to achieve that radius. So as far as outside edges like this, doesn't matter. But then again, it's kind of a toss-up for you guys because you really don't know what orientation we're going to be machining a part in. But if you do know, try to avoid fillets on the top of the part. And I know a lot of times parts have organic geometry like hydroform tools for aircraft. Sometimes you can't avoid putting a fillet on the top, so it is what it is when that happens. But it just adds time.
There's another question for you coming up.
Go for it.
It's an easy one. So you mentioned that using a bigger tool, this is something you use, saves more time, like faster cutting, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that like a general rule if you do, you double the size, quarter the time? So.
Yep. So a bigger tool means that it's a more rigid tool, that it's more solid. And so that means that I can take a bigger step over radially. So like with a 1/4-inch end mill, I may only be able to step over 30 thousandths and have to spiral my way out, taking, maybe 100 passes on a pocket. Where if I can use a 1-inch end mill, I can step over, 200 thousandths, and it'll only take me 3 or 4 passes around that pocket to get all that material out. The bigger the tool, the higher your material removal rate is going to be in most cases. So bigger fillet means cheaper part.
There you go. That's the groceries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, every time I see a pocket with a wall fillet that's a weird size and not a perfect fractional size, I'm like, that guy knows his machining. That engineer deserves a raise. Take a look at the next thing here. And a lot of these things may seem like common sense, but it's incredible how many times we see this stuff on the machining floor. Share screen. All right, next up is a part that I like to talk about a lot because it was one of those that blew my mind when I first saw it. This was for a prototype aircraft. I don't even know what the part was for. But if you take a look at it, it has a spherical radius on the outside and then just a regular hole in the middle. But when I was looking at the drawing, I noticed that they were calling out 2/10 concentricity of the spherical radius to the hole. And then I noticed a note that said paint all outer surfaces per note 1. When I took a look at note 1, it was talking about just a thick yellow paint. It was like 3 thousandths thick. And so I called the engineering manager for that project and I said, hey man, what's up with this? We're painting the outside, but somehow we're supposed to hold 2/10 concentricity. And he said, oh man, that GD&T doesn't even need to be on there. We'll just go ahead and delete that from the drawing. Now, had he not deleted that from the drawing, that was going to be almost impossible for us to achieve. So we were going to see a whole lot of scrap and a whole lot of learning through the process in order to get that tolerance met. So I was actually really pleased that we didn't have to do that, but that's the danger of sometimes over-tolerancing a feature. And because I have been in y'all's shoes as a design engineer, I know how easy it is to fall in the trap of, I don't really know how this is going to fit together. So I'm going to just over-tolerance everything because I don't have to think about it as much. But a lot of times, I see stuff that just had no business being on the drawing whatsoever. And, all I can think of is just somebody was playing it safe. I assume that most of you guys work with manufacturing teams. So one of the best things that an engineer can do, in my opinion, is talk to the guys on the shop floor. If there's something that, is not confusing, but if it's not clear, feel free to come talk to us, because there's nothing that we love more than when an engineer comes and says, hey, is this going to be okay for me to design this way, or for the drawing to be this way? And, a lot of the places that I've worked at, we had design reviews with the manufacturing team, and that always made things a whole lot easier. So I highly recommend design reviews if you guys have the time. And if at any time you guys have questions or comments, please feel free. I'm trying to bounce back between screen sharing so that I can see your faces and see if anybody's giving me the evil eye. Yeah, I see you in front. All right. Next up is something else that we see a lot is thread depths. Common thread mills come in a couple of different lengths. Normally they're 2 times diameter or 3 times diameter. So a lot of times I'll see a part like this, and it's called out on the drawing to thread it all the way through. Now, if you know anything about threading, that's a very tough thing to do in some cases, depending upon the width of the part. So if the thread doesn't have to go all the way through, I always tell designers to just go 2 times D. At that point, you're not going to be getting any extra strength out of the threads anyway. And maximum 3 times diameter deep. Most common single point thread mills only go up to 3 times D. You can tap a hole much deeper, but again, the deeper the hole is, the more cost it's going to add, because we have to have a super long tap, and in a lot of cases we have to peg tap it to keep from breaking the tap. So we just take a little depth at a time, pull back out of the hole, a little more depth, and we keep going. But if you're at the 2 times D mark, we can use a multi-form thread mill and make that whole thread in 2 passes and be done with it. And I've actually seen a lot of times where the design calls for the thread to be through, but it doesn't really need to be. All right. Another one that's the bane of my existence is unilateral tolerances. And I understand the design intent here, and it's just basically saying I've got something that needs to fit in this pocket no matter what. And one thing I've really never understood, just so you guys know, I've never been to college a day in my life. I never even went on a college campus for a party. So there's things that I may not know that you guys do know. But to me, these 2 parts, you're going to achieve the exact same thing with these 2 dimensions. The problem that we have as machinists in manufacturing is a lot of times if you guys are modeling it this way, and we're modeled to the top of tolerance or the bottom of tolerance, we don't really look at that when we're programming a part. We're telling a tool to follow this wall. And if we don't notice that, say, this is already modeled to the top of tolerance, we may end up making this pocket too big. So from a manufacturing perspective, I've learned that I better measure everything on the model to the drawing before I get started. but a lot of people still don't do that when they're programming a part. So what is ideal for us in manufacturing is for you guys to actually make the model to the mean dimension. Even if you're going to give it a unilateral tolerance, it helps us tremendously if it's modeled to the mean. And that's because it gives us a little bit of tolerance on the size of our tool or on the size of the finished feature. And you know, this particular example isn't the greatest, but it's just for being visually clear. But a lot of times there is very complex geometry. And so for me as a, you know, CNC programmer, I'm going to have to go in and offset all these surfaces by, you know, however much 5,000ths to get them to the mean. And sometimes, you know, there's complex geometry that's all intersecting fillets and chamfers and stuff like that. And it's very difficult for us to offset those surfaces. Now, I've spent a lot of time in SOLIDWORKS in my career, so, you know, I've had to help a lot of other CNC programmers learn how to do surfacing just for this purpose. So if there's a way for modeling to mean, that'll help us out a lot. Any questions on that one? You guys all look guilty, like you model everything to the maximum or the minimum. No? All right.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
All right, next up, this part was very similar to something that I did for a satellite mounted laser weapon. It was a mirror, and I have changed this. Well, to be fair, I modeled this from scratch to somewhat resemble the part. But it was a nightmare of a part. It was made out of aluminum, and it had a lot of the problems that I had talked about in this session. But you can see all the pockets had square internal corners. There were a few other problems with making this part. And unfortunately, because it was for a military application, we couldn't get the drawing changed. So what that resulted in is us having to sinker EDM all of these pockets. And if you guys are familiar with sinker EDM, it is not a fast process. You know, every one of the pockets was different. Some of them did have wall fillets, but they were the exact fractional sizes. Anyway, it was just a nightmare of the part. But some of the things I wanted to point out here are when you take a look at these threaded holes. So they're wanting a quarter 20 thread in these holes, but the wall is only 275 thick. So if we were to machine the pockets first and then come in and try to tap these or form tap them, what you'd end up with is you'd be able to see the threads coming through the wall of the pocket. And as I'm sure most of you can imagine, that's not going to be a very strong thread there. So that was a problem. This was also another one where those threads went all the way through, but the bolts that they were using only went about a quarter inch deep into that hole. Another thing, and this is really close to the actual part that I made, but they were calling out a positive unilateral tolerance on this feature and then calling out a negative on these sides of the pocket. So that presents a challenge because now I have to use two separate tools to achieve that, or I have to offset all these surfaces to where they would be at the mean. So if these were both going the same direction, I would be able to compensate my tool on the machine and tell it to just go out, 2,000ths and machine the whole feature. But because they're two different directions, now I have to use two different tools. So if you can, avoid having unilateral tolerances going both directions on the same feature. Do any of you guys there do fixture design or tool designs? No. All right, well, maybe this won't help you that much, but the last one is the part that I'm actually currently machining. So right now I have this 30-inch diameter blisk on our tree mill. So it's a pretty big part, and this doesn't just apply to fixturing, but one thing that I consider is, like, with this part for my final operation, I had to make a fixture, and you can see that I'm locating on these 4 bosses here on my center bore of the part, and then I've got these big 1-inch 8 bolts holding the part down to my fixture. But as a machinist, I know that this hole is going to fill up with coolant, and when I go in there to blow that part off, it's going to blow coolant all over my face, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So whenever I do like a fixture design, I try to consider the people that are going to be making the part, or, you know, the machinist, or in your cases, maybe the end user. So in my fixture itself, I designed a little coolant channel. That way, as that hole is filling up with coolant, it's able to drain out through this channel in the fixture. So something that I used to not do enough was think of, you know, the people that were going to be having to deal with these kind of issues. So if any of you do make fixtures, please think about us for machinists. All right. Now, honestly, I thought those things were going to take me a lot longer to talk about, but they didn't. So if any of you guys have manufacturing questions that you've been wanting to ask, or anything that I can help with, just feel free. I got another 15 minutes lined out for you guys.
Barry, can you explain more depth, like for an internal radius, why you don't want to use the fractional radius size, why you need to go a bit bigger? Can you explain that?
Yes, absolutely. So, and actually, let me see real quick. Oh, come on. Oh, YouTube. There we go. All right, so here's a video that I actually did on YouTube that you guys can reference most of the things that I talked about here. But if you take a look at it, let me see if I can talk about this. Oh, I thought I did a good graphic on here, but I didn't. So if you take a look at this tool that's going down into that pocket, it's let's just say it's a 1-inch tool. If you put a 1/2-inch fillet in the wall there, what happens is the tool path is driven at the center of the tool. So when it reaches that corner, there is a sharp direction change. So what I tell people is, picture that you are running towards a wall. Would you rather gradually change direction as you come into that wall, or would you rather run face first into it and then turn to follow the wall? And that's the reason, because when in a tool path, when there's a sharp direction change, so the tool path that I'm driving my tool to has to do that, it has to make a complete stop in that corner. And what that causes is the tool to vibrate really bad. And that leaves a bunch of chatter in the corner of the part. And the only way to get away from that is to switch to a smaller tool so that it gradually enters into that corner rather than it being start, stop, and start.
Okay, thank you, Barry. That makes sense. You said maybe you said go 10% oversize?
Yeah, 10% over common fractional sizes. And if you guys are working in metric, just 10% over what your common metric size would be.
Thanks, Barry.
Sure. You'd be surprised at how much of a difference that actually makes in the time it takes to machine apart. And like I said, that video on YouTube is called Dumb Engineering Design. Makes this part impossible to make. I don't come up with the titles. I'm just the one in the video.
Sure, what did you say? I know your boss.
Any other questions here in the room?
You're free. That's it. I see a question here.
Watch that video, hey? Like the video.
Yeah, so as he's doing that, they've got tons of video out there. If you haven't subscribed, do. I mean, you can learn. As you mentioned, for me, I've been in this industry for my whole career, 40 plus years, 4 decades, and my biggest ignorance is that I didn't always have opportunity to go at the manufacturing floor. You never went to see how the tools are put together, because we think we know it all, and when I model it up on my screen, it doesn't fall off. I don't need 2 hands to do it, it stays there, right?
Yeah.
But when you go down to the manufacturing floor and you ask how they're doing this, very rarely do they pull a current print. And Barry probably contests this. They got prints in their drawer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you pulling that up for? Because this is how I put it together. Like, really? So I'll pose another question. I will give it some time.
Yeah, and another really good example of that, I was working at an aircraft facility, and we were converting all of our legacy drawings into 3D models. So we had aircraft that were being built in the 60s that, we still made spare parts for. And so we wanted all of the CAD data to be 3D modeled. So we were working in CATIA at that time, which is a whole nother story. But one of the first part assemblies that I had to do was the main landing gear door assembly. So there were all these sheet metal components that all went inside. Some of them were like little Z's and things. And when I modeled them all up to the drawings from the 60s, nothing went together. And so I was like, what is going on here? I went back and checked all my work, and still nothing went together. So there was a old fella who was, I think, 82 years old that had worked there since the 60s. And I went out to him and I said, man, Ray, how are you making this work? Because there's no engineering change orders. It's still the same drawing. And he said, oh yeah, every time I get those parts, I just grab out my shears and just cut it until it fits. And he'd been doing that for 60 years.
That's job security, huh?
Yeah, we try to tell our guys in the shop to do red lines, and we're out there with them frequently. Try to not have them store their data.
Yeah.
So.
And that was, what he told me when I asked him, how come you never went and told the engineering team about this? He said, well, back in, the 70s I did, but they said that changing the drawing was going to be too expensive because it would have to, get FAA approval and all these other things. So they just told me to make it work.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I have a question in the room, Barry.
Sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's your opinion on GD&T? Does it make things easier, or is it a hassle?
I despise it. What I always tell people is that GD&T was created by the quality department. GD&T was created by the quality department to make them feel more important. So the problem the problem with GD&T is almost none of it can be checked by the guy machining the part. Almost all of it has to be checked by a CMM or a guy with a surface plate. So these are dimensions that I don't even know if I have right until I take the part out of the machine and give it to the quality department. And then what I get in return is a nice 50-page thick CMM report telling me how stupid I am. So I'm probably with 99% of machinists who are not fans of GD&T.
The ultimate
Go in and actually put the part back in the machine and make the change.
I missed the beginning of that, sorry.
You then have to put your part back into the machine and try to make
Right.
the change every time.
Right. If you can put the part back in the machine, because a lot of the times you're not going to get it right back where you had it. Especially when you're holding, you know, I did a lot of parts for satellites, and they would give me profile of a surface on the entire part of 1,000. And the part that I'm thinking of in particular was C15,000 copper. And it looked like a little accordion. It was about 6 inches long. But holding 1,000 profile of a surface, that means I've got a couple of tenths on the size of every feature of that part. And we actually were able to make that part, but it was a nightmare, especially because copper moves too. So as we're machining it, the copper is deforming. And, you know,
temperature too, right?
Another thing that's a problem for us too is model-based definition. So you can imagine that most machinists that are standing in front of a machine all day don't have a computer with SOLIDWORKS right next to the machine. So even though as designers, we love model-based definition, right? It's like, heck yeah, I don't have to make a drawing now, or I'd make a drawing that just has a note that says, look at the model, stupid. But for the machinist on the shop floor, it's kind of a pain because we don't have access to that information.
There's another question in the room for you.
What is the best way to reduce the rebuild time?
Repeat the question. Repeat it.
What is the best way to reduce build time? Rebuild time. Oh, and in a SOLIDWORKS model? Oh, that has to do a lot with the design intent and the way that you put the features together and how you organize the tree. There are tools in SOLIDWORKS that actually help you analyze what features taking the most time, and you can try to manipulate the part geometry to try to increase those numbers to be faster.
So when the assembly is already there, you are not designing it. You just want to open it. You don't. How do you reduce that?
So I think
Is this reduced and then you can design your
Just general rebuild time on like a 45.
One thing that I would add to that is I had a part that had rebuild times of like 3 hours. I had probably, I don't know, Joe, you know the part I'm talking about. It was that F-16 spar that had nightmare drawing. And the freeze bar worked really well for me. So once I had a bunch, 1,000 established features in my feature tree, just roll that freeze bar over them, and that did save quite a bit of rebuild time. I don't know how complex the models you're building are, but.
So to his point, that's a good question. That's a class by itself, but both what this guy said, that's very helpful. And the order of your tree help with the rebuild time. The repetitive stuff, rebuild time. If this is a part on assembly, it depends on what it is, and there's different things you can do to help with that. Do you need access to everything at the same time? Probably not. So there's a lot of tips and tricks with that. So that's, if you're interested in learning more about that, we can definitely make a note of that and get some expert to deal with just that for you. And I think that would be a huge help. That's not just you, believe me. I've had some part I had open up and I'm thinking, and now it's not that easy. Thanks, Barry. Thanks. Anything else? Anyone else? It's true, and believe me, you're not the only one thinking it, so I heard it all, and then some. I'm guilty of it all the time, so. All right, Barry.
All right. Well, it was good to see all of you. Hopefully this helped at least a little bit.
Any advice with materials? Different materials for, you just said that copper was a little bit more difficult to
Yeah, for machinists, aluminum is easy. We can machine aluminum all day long, and it won't wear our tools. Just plain mild steel is fine. Stainlesses are fine. We start seeing a challenge when you get into exotic materials. So titanium, Inconel, a lot of nickel-based alloys are a pain. Tungsten. The more exotic you get, the more challenging it becomes. And usually it's just because of the wear that we see on our tooling.
And I'll add to that, and again, this is a lot of ignorance. What I've learned over the years is that for the entry level, not just the entry levels, but the seniors guys, that sometimes we get stuck in our ways of doing things, and there's no other way to do it than our way. But just take a walk down the manufacturing floor. If you got an opportunity to go into the field or go wherever you have access to me, a field engineer that comes in from the field, his office, they're the best there is. And if you know one of those guys, you stick with them. They can tell you the raw truth of how ignorant we are when they're trying to pick up a tool or move a tool or pick something apart. It's very obvious that we screwed up. And we don't always hear those things because they got to get the job done. But when you see someone with your hand getting pinched and things are happening, something is wrong. And again, things don't move around on our screen. It stays in place. You don't need leg and iron rods to put those things together, but that's what you have to deal with. So if you've got a chance to go visit the site or visit the manufacturing floor, don't let that be a broken bridge. Close that gap. You're doing yourself a favor, really quick.
What about any advice on like finishes and surfacing where we have that detail on the drawing for machining and and like if we do phosphate, different coatings and stuff after machining, any advice on what issues?
The big thing for us is that if you want your dimensions to apply after finishing, we just have to know how thick that coating is going to be. So if you guys put in your general notes, like average 1 2/10 thickness, that tells us everything we need to know. As far as what finishes are used, it doesn't matter to us because we're just making the part. And most of the time, the finishing is left up to either an outside vendor or another department.
Anyone else? Barry, I can't thank you enough. I hope one day I can see you in person, but I'll leave it at that because there's so much more that you're missing. This is great, and you did a good job of presenting what you're talking about, but to have it in person is really amazing. Question, good question on that, but thanks again. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, your lunch break to get this done. It's really appreciated. So let's give them a round of applause.
And if any of you guys ever have any specific questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. My email is super easy. It's barry@titansofcnc.com. I respond to everybody. A lot of times I'll be on camera all day, so it might take me a couple hours to respond, but I see everything, and I have to look at every social media platform every day.
Sounds so excited.
Yeah. It's funny because I left social media about 5 years before I started working here. So 10 years ago, I left everything but LinkedIn. And then when I started here, I had to get Facebook back. I had to get TikTok that my daughter uses. Like, I'm 46 years old, so I really didn't want to be back on social media, but it can be a good tool to use. I mean, as you can see from our Facebook group, everybody on there, we keep our group really clean because a lot of high school students use it. So a lot of the people with attitude that berate you for asking a question, we just boot them out of the group. So the 100,000 that we have on Facebook are all very helpful people that want to see everybody else succeed. So it can be a useful tool, but it's also a pain sometimes. If you guys could see the number of comments that we get calling me an idiot or, any of the rest of us, you have to get over that real quick. So, but yeah, if you guys ever need me, feel free to shoot me an email.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. See ya.
SOLIDWORKS!